Hello and welcome. This is Our Family's True Tales of the Supernatural. I will be exploring and sharing stories about paranormal activity and supernatural occurrences. The main thing I want to share is my own paranormal experiences. Sorry about the cartoon Avatar character, but my family doesn't want to be identified. They're afraid of the stigma that goes along with this subject, and they're afraid of getting shunned by friends. Remember to click the thumbs up, subscribe, and mention in the comments that you subscribed. If I get over 1,000 subscribers, I'll try to finish my book about my paranormal experiences. A few years ago, I would have openly told you that I didn't believe in this type of stuff. I thought people who saw this stuff were letting their overactive imaginations run wild. Then, a few years ago, I started to see strange things that I couldn't explain. I was afraid to talk about it due to the stigma surrounding typical unexplained events. One year, I gave my family an assignment for Christmas. I told them that we should share stories like the old European tradition of sharing stories at Christmas time. In that tradition, some people shared scary stories, and other people would share stories that they thought were inspirational. A really great story was seen as being just as good as a really great Christmas gift. As I shared about my paranormal experiences, my family opened up about their paranormal experiences as well. I can say in all honesty that I have witnessed a lot of paranormal activity through the years. I've seen full body apparitions, shadow figures, and white, wispy, ghostly figures darting across hallways. I've also heard inexplicable sounds such as footsteps and shuffling feet when no one else is around. I've also heard disembodied voices and sounds of doors opening and closing when no one else is in the house. If you think this stuff is a little too wild, I can tell you that I've had friends and family witness some of the activity as well. Through the years, I've gathered a few stories from a few different family members. I would like to start sharing these stories and some other paranormal things I've learned about through the years. So, have you ever witnessed or experienced paranormal activity? If you have, or if you're interested in listening to some stories about it, let's get underway. I've heard a few different paranormal experts say things like the one way you stir up paranormal activity the most is by doing household renovations. One of the first paranormal events I witnessed occurred at a house when I was doing some renovating. Let me show you a computer animation to show some of the things that occurred. Here's a recreation of the house that I had been renovating. I had spent a good portion of the morning painting a shed that was in back of the house, and I had come inside to take a break and catch my breath. I had come in the front door that you can see here with a couple of the front windows that face the front yard. As I was standing here, we had brought in a new roll of carpet that day, and it had wrapping around it that was about 6-inch wide plastic wrap type of a thing. And it was spiral wrapped down the whole roll of carpet from the salesman to keep it all in a roll so it would stay together. But as I stood there catching my breath and resting, I saw that the roll of carpet was slowly inching its way across the floor. And I thought it would stop, but it just kept moving and moving on and on. I thought it would stop in the middle of the floor because maybe the floor had sagged or something like that, but it didn't stop in the middle of the floor. It kept going across to the other side of the room, and it just kept slowly rolling further and further. It didn't even stop till it was only about 1.5 feet or 2 feet away from the other wall at the front of the house. I never could explain exactly how that happened or why it just kept rolling and never stopped. It almost seemed like there was an invisible person making the carpet take a slow roll. It almost seemed like they were trying to get a closer look at it to see what it was like and what it would look like. Another thing that happened was something that happened over here in the bathroom in this hallway over here. It actually happened on the other side of the house. My dad, myself, and another guy that we had working with us were talking about this little light switch over here to see if we wanted to alter some of the wiring to have a exhaust fan for the bathroom. Just then, all the way on the other side of the house, there was a vacuum cleaner that came on all by itself. There was nobody even over at that side of the house. It had just turned itself on all by itself. This had happened about uh, a week after the initial incident with the carpet. So when the vacuum came on, I couldn't hear my dad talking and describe what kind of work he wanted. So I came all the way over here and turned off the vacuum by pushing the button. And then I unplugged the cord from the wall outlet to make sure it didn't come on. And if it came on after that, I knew we had a really big problem. Those were two of the main things that I had learned about that had happened in this house. Although there was actually another back door of the house that the owner had told me when she had stayed in this house for a short period of time. Every now and then the back door would open and close by itself. She said she could hear somebody turning the doorknob. The door would open. A few seconds later, it would close. And then it did that every now and then. And she never could find a decent explanation for it. Sometimes she would even hear the sound of somebody turning the door lock and locking and unlocking the doorknob. And she could even hear them turning the doorknob. Sometimes she would even look over there to see who was coming in the door, and there would be nobody there that she could see. The door just seemed to open, stay open for a few seconds, and then close itself. And it would also relock itself. I had done a lot of work on that door and the doorknob, and I know that if you just tried to jiggle the door, you couldn't get it to open. I even locked myself out once and tried to shake it back and forth to see if I could get it to open, and I couldn't get it to open. So I know if somebody was locking and unlocking the door and opening it, that took quite a bit of doing. So something definitely was going on there. So there was definitely some issues going on in this house, and I can tell you right now, I was doing some praying, and I've hoped that my prayers worked out because it seemed like after I prayed about it, the problem seemed to clear up, and I didn't have any other problems there. But that's just one of the stories that really got me thinking about some of these types of issues. So, have you ever had any experiences like this? Have you ever heard things that go bump in the night or sounds that seem to occur in the house when there's nobody else in the house? This didn't happen again to me for a while, but after a while, I did work on other houses and I did have other experiences at other houses too. A house I had worked on a couple years before this actually had gravestones in the backyard. But what's interesting is the whole time I worked there, I never noticed any serious problems with the house. Although I did sometimes feel like I was being watched and I would get a slight headache when I was working over there. But other than that, I didn't notice any other occurrences at that house. Well, our time's about up, so for now, I'll say farewell until our next video. See you out there.